Welcome to another exciting episode of ESRAG Climate Conversation. The podcast is where we delve deep into the world of climate actions and environmental stewardship done by Rotary. I'm a host, Admiral, and joining me as always, my co-host, Felix.
It's a joy to be here once again. We've been having quite an interesting selection of speakers, and today's speaker definitely is going to intrigue you. He has so much to talk about, especially under ESRAG. He's been a Rotarian for many, many years, and I'm really looking forward to what he has to say, especially with COP28 right on the heels.
Yeah, and speaking about our guest, it will be Yasar Atacik, the current chairman of ESRAG and the driving force behind the Climate Action Roadmap. More on that, of course, later. But first, let's delve into what we have been reading lately on the environmental news. So, Felix, what did you read that is interesting lately?
Yes, lately things have been quiet around here in Africa, especially with the upcoming COP28. About $26 billion was pledged during the Africa Climate Summit. So, right now, most of the organizations and also most of the governments are looking forward to much more actualization. I know they were pressing for the 100 billion that had been pledged during the 2015. That was COP 2015. That was COP, yeah, it was COP 15, I think it was, yeah, when much was being pledged upon, and it is yet to be realized. Right now, they're looking forward to see what will be the actualization after the 26 billion was pledged during the Africa Climate Summit. Other than that, everything else has been kind of quiet around here. The only news we had is King Charles traveling to, or rather, coming to Kenya. And we know how passionate he is about the climate. So I'm looking forward to his speech, basically, him speaking about COP28 and what he's expecting out of it. So, other than
Are you
that,
going to be
everything
there?
around here, I'm planning, if I get a chance, I will. If not, because it's kind of restricted at the moment. His focus is pretty much visiting around the country. He has a few initiatives that the government has been working on, especially in the tech space. But I do look forward if I do get a chance. Other than that, I also do look forward to being able to hear what he has to say because I know how passionate he is about the climate. He's been really championing the same across the world. I look forward to his speech concerning the same.
All right, that sounds interesting. Let's see what he will say to the Kenyan public. What I've been reading lately, what I read is basically news about the state of the Baltic Sea. In 2010 or 2015, came out a big report about the state of Baltic Sea and how it was basically not great, more like terrible. And there are, of course, a lot of programs discovered to tackle that: overfishing, overcrowded sea, the state of the health of the sea, and all the life that is connected to the sea was in bad shape. And the report that recently came out said that not much has improved. And sadly, that is very sad to read because there were 6 years where a lot of programs have been developed to tackle that. I guess a lot of actions. And of course, the report goes from 15 to 2021 because it took a year to create the report. So maybe the health has improved in last year, but in those 6 years that the report was actually tackling it, the health of the sea has not really improved. It's a bit worrying, don't you think so, Felix?
The Baltic Sea has been quite of concern, especially with the oil spill-offs. And it's good also to mention exactly where it's located. I do know some of the people who are listening may not know exactly where the Baltic Sea is, but it is between the continents. It's one of the seas that is pretty much surrounded by the continents that is up in the north. And it's of concern right now with the climate change. So it's my hope that something can be done about it. I know that usually the Baltic Sea on top of it, partially it's covered by ice, but with all the melting that's taking place and all the pollution that's taking place, especially with the oil spill, there's need to be concerned, especially the biodiversity is being destroyed. I hope something that is beneficial will take place. I hope the emergency will be seen as so. And I hope the efforts will help in containing the amount of pollution that is in it in order to be able to pretty much sustain the life that is around it.
And now moving on to our guest of today. Today's episode, we're honored to introduce Yasar Atacik, a distinguished Rotarian from Istanbul, Turkey, and a current ESRAG chair. Yasar's journey with Rotary began in 2014, and he will tell you a bit more himself about it. He is deeply committed to raising awareness about environmental and sustainability issues within the Rotary community. He has been instrumental in establishing and supporting initiatives, including Carbon Footprint Committee, now known as its Environmental Sustainability Committee at the district level and beyond. Yasar's extensive corporate experience and passion for sustainability make him a key advocate for change within Rotary and beyond.
My interaction with Yasar has been quite interesting. He has so much knowledge, especially in the environment space. Sustainability has always been his focus, especially with circularity. And I know that's one of the topics that he has a passion for. So I look forward to hearing from you, Dr. Yasar. There's so much knowledge that we can gain from you, both as ESRAG members and also as Rotarians. And my interaction with him has been towards scaling much of what he has done himself and much of what he advocates for. So this is one of the sessions that I've been really waiting for. So welcome, Dr. Yasar.
Thank you, Felix. Thank you, Ilya. Nice to be here. I'm looking forward for this interview.
Could you share your personal journey and experiences that led you to become involved with Rotary and become involved Rotarian?
After my retirement from corporate work, I was involved with environmental issues, and I established an NGO, which was called Sustainability and Environmental and Carbon Footprint. So we were working with schools and with their energy expenditure. That was going on. During this time, the local Rotary Club around me contacted me and invited me to their meetings. So I attended their meetings a few times. And then I decided Rotarians are active people, they are impactful people. Maybe I can do better on the environment with them. So I decided to join the Rotary Club. In fact, that was very, very useful. In a few years' time, maybe in 2 years' time, I became the district environmental officer. So it was the first time. And we also established a committee. The committee, we started training, we started providing sessions, trainings, and doing projects. And so it took off.
Excellent. And now you're involved more than ever, I see, even in your retirement.
Yeah.
Dr. Yasar, the question that I have for you is, what motivated you to join ESRAG and how has your involvement evolved over time?
As I told you a while ago, I was already passionate on environment when I joined Rotary, and people around me knew about that. So our assistant general of the time one day called me. She has learned about ESRAG. I have not. She heard about ESRAG, and she invited me and asked me to join ESRAG. So I did. In January 2018, I applied and I became a member of ESRAG. A few months later, the secretary of ESRAG, then Melissa Mills, who is one of the founders of ESRAG, she asked me and she invited me to be a member of the board. So I volunteered, I became a candidate. There was the election process, and at the end, I was elected to the board of ESRAG. So I started on the July 2018 as a board member. A year after that, I was asked to be a secretary, and I became a secretary, and I was secretary for 2 years. Then I was involved in other activities, other committees, and eventually things moved up, and I became eventually the chair of ESRAG. So that's where we are.
Wonderful, wonderful. It seems like destiny was following you, or rather, destiny was chasing you. There's a call on you that you just can't shake off as far as the environment is concerned. They always say that in life, we don't have any vacuums. Implication is wherever your need was, you just had to plug in and just keep rolling with it because that's what the society needed. And it's good to at least have you. And so we do appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
As member of ESRAG, I heard mentions of Climate Action Roadmap. Could you provide a detailed overview of this initiative and the significance within ESRAG of Climate Action Roadmap?
Mhm.
I think you're the person I can ask this, right?
That also goes back to COPs. About 2 years ago, when COP26 was, in the horizon, and as Rotary, we had nothing to do with the COP at the time. Later, although Karen Kendrick Hands went there, but we didn't know it at the time. So, I asked the question, Rotary is a humanitarian organization, and it's time for Rotary to be in this climate issue, and we are not there. So I asked this question with several Rotarians and ESRAG members around the world, and we decided that I think we should be doing something more. So this discussion eventually led to us to bring a proposal to ESRAG board. That was even that we brought this on January 2022, and in February 22, it was agreed on. Our proposal was to establish a working group for setting up a climate roadmap. So we proposed to have a climate roadmap, development of a climate roadmap. The board agreed, and we started developing a climate roadmap. We had initially 6 goals, but over time, this has evolved, changed, combined, and eventually at the end, we now have 4 goals. And this committee has been meeting since February 22, almost every week. Every Monday we meet. So our meetings, we concluded these. And let me share the final where we are, the 4 goals we have. Our first goal is we wanted to bring the discussion of climate to the attention of clubs, to bring it to the club meetings. This is the first step. Creating awareness is the first step for taking action. This was our first goal, and eventually this was turned into a program, and now you may have heard it. It's every club climate friendly. So what we have is clubs are provided with a carbon calculator, and clubs can calculate their carbon emissions. We provide them with information about how to reduce their emissions, which they can do.
Is it actual calculator or is it a website? What kind of calculator is it?
It's a calculator to calculate the emissions of the clubs. So it's about meeting venue. There are questions about venue. There are about consumptions. There's the transportation and so on. All these questions are asked, and other travels. Those questions are asked, and you get the club carbon emissions. Of course, at this time, it does not include the emissions coming from the club projects. There are projects and they have emissions, negative or positive, but they are not included at this time, but these will be coming later on. The first goal is to find these emissions, and those that cannot be reduced has to be compensated. So we made an agreement with the Rotary Foundation, and those monies can be contributed to a special fund within the foundation. And those monies eventually will be used for environment or climate projects. They will be in addition to what Rotary Foundation will be providing for the environment area of focus. First, the awareness, and then will come the actual involvement with projects. Our second goal was about money. As you know, funding of sustainability and environment and renewable energy are important, and they need money. And our money that we invest, be it in the bank or in some funds or whatever, has to be managed environmentally sustainably. And there are lots of monies. I mean, clubs have monies, districts have endowments, and of course, the Rotary Foundation is the largest one. So these have to be properly environmentally sustainably managed. So we are working on this. At ESRAG, to walk the talk, we made the first move. ESRAG moved $100,000 of its money from one of its largest American banks to a green bank. The green bank funds only solar energy projects. So this is a small green bank, and we are even getting better return on our money. So that's number two. Number three is important because to do all these things, you have to have the support of senior Rotarian leaders. Without them, we cannot succeed in any of this. So you have to be with them. They have to be with you. They have to support you. For that reason, we decided to establish strong relations with senior Rotary leaders. And we are doing it. I think one of the first persons that we invited to one of our climate roadmap working group meetings was Tom Gump. Tom Gump is aide to Stepan Urchik, the next president of Rotary International. So we invited him. Later in the following month, we invited Barry Resson, who was then the chair of the trustees. And the following day, we met with Ian Risley, chair of the trustees. So, and this continued. Of course, all this work was done. We had done our climate roadmap in the first year, and all these interactions were in the second year. So we are currently following this, and that is the part relating to the leadership. We had a fourth goal. The fourth goal is having partnerships with impactful organizations. And we want to develop better relationships with the United Nations, whether we can, as ESRAG, do or not, but that's our aim. Also, we want to work with other NGOs who are involved in these areas. So this is the climate roadmap, and we are still working on it, and it is still evolving, but now we are quite stable, and we are trying to get actions on these goals. That's what we are trying to do now. We want to realize these goals. I hope that's enough for climate roadmap until now. Of course, there are more things to be done.
That's quite a lot. And it kind of rolls down to a question that I do have for you. And the question is, as chairman, what is your vision for ESRAG's future, especially in the context of the climate action roadmap? And what impact do you hope to achieve?
Thank you for this question. Let me start. Of course, there are things as an organization, as an environmental organization, we have to support clubs, we have to support our cause, and of course, we need to increase our membership. Membership is our strength, and of course, one of our objectives is to grow our membership. Now, membership growth calls for something that you are for a cause and you are doing a good job for your cause, and you are also promoting it. Those are essential for the success of such an organization like us. And think of why you become a member of, for example, Greenpeace, because you support them. That's why you become a member. So people think they are doing a good job, so they join. So as ESRAG, we have to do a good job in promoting our cause and doing our job. In the promoting, what do we want to do? We want to be impactful. As a RAG, we have to be impactful in our work. So we have some actions that we want to do. And we established, as I said earlier, contact with trustee chair of then and the future one, Barry Resson. So we kept our dialogue with the senior Rotarians. We decided to take initiative with the senior Rotarians and ask them to have a zero emission goal. Just like many countries have zero emission goals, and many large corporations have zero emission goals. So we suggested that we have a zero emission goal at Rotary. So We are going to see how this will evolve in the coming days. We also need to do a good job in our work. Don't you think so?
Definitely, definitely. The potential that ESRAG has is innumerable. We cannot limit ourselves to what has been in the past. And the vision that you're sharing is a freshness that is so much needed. It's exciting, it's exhilarating. And listening to you, it's even hard to be able to stop you and question you because you have so much to give and to say. Definitely just continue. I'm sure once I get a question for you, I'll definitely let you know. But so far, what you're sharing is rich. It's so much what ESRAG stands for. It's so much what Rotary International stands for. I'm so grateful and I'm so glad that we were able to get you to be able to speak about it with what you envision for ESRAG.
So one is, as I mentioned, we want to bring and support our cause, and that calls for more interaction with the senior Rotarians, and we are in these interactions. So we are working with senior Rotarian leadership, and hopefully things will hear more about those initiatives in the coming months. So that's one. And the second one is we have to do a good job in our support for the clubs because clubs need technical support, giving them ideas, coordinating, establishing their contact with other clubs doing similar things, transferring their experience to these clubs doing these projects. So we have to do a good job. That means our task forces, experts in various areas, have to be strong, have to do a good job communicating with the clubs, and also our regional chapters. Regional chapters are eyes and and ears at the field. They are in the districts. They are talking to the clubs. They are talking to the district environmental chairs, and they have to do a good job so that these clubs will come to us and we support them. So we are establishing this contact between our task forces and regional chapters and our board. So strengthening the internal bond is very important for us doing a good job. So that's the second thing that we are trying to achieve, that I want to achieve during the coming months and years. So it's the cause, fighting for the cause, and also for the doing a good job in your regular work.
Wow, this is amazing. Because what you're touching upon is what SDG number 17 talks about, and that is partnership. And that's what you're pursuing, the form of partnership that will enable the growth and also will help. Because if you're to look at pillar number 7, what ESRAG stands for, it's only 3 years old. It was started in the year 2020. So the vision you're sharing is laying a strong foundation and is helping enabling the restructuring process for better growth, for greater acceleration. Because looking at 2030, it's not too far, 7 years to go. And there's an agenda that has to be achieved, especially lowering of the temperature to at least 1.5 degrees. And that's what ESRAG stands for. And also right now, looking at it's being demanded that at least 40% of the emissions have to be reduced if we are to achieve our target by 2030. And you having laid down the 2040 goal, as opposed to the 2050 that generally the UN is standing for, it shows the passion, it shows the ability, it shows the faith that you do have in what Rotary International is able to achieve. So it's a proud moment for me to be able to listen to you and to hear to what you have to say. I don't know if you have something else to add to that.
I think it's exciting. If that goal is eventually accepted, it will require a lot of changes, and we will try to reduce our emissions, and those will be challenging days. Looking forward to it.
You definitely are the right person for the position you're holding, especially at a time like this. And that's why I initially mentioned it's like destiny was calling you to be able to fill up a vacuum that is so much needed. Because the agenda of sustainability, I believe, is what will help us to be able to achieve that goal. And that being something at the core of your passion, I see a greater future and I see greater possibilities.
You are among the delegates heading to COP28 as a Rotarian. Could you outline your objective for this event and share your expectations regarding the outcomes and contribution of ESRAG participation in such event?
I think the significance of this year for Rotary at COP is for the first time, Rotary International is having a pavilion at the COP, which is a first. And also, Rotary is joining this COP with a very strong delegates. Delegates include Rotary International President Gordon McAnally. It includes Trustee Chair Barry Resson. It includes Secretary General John Hugo. Includes President nominee Cesar and our board member and also Rotary International Director Vice Kidvaye and many more. So it's a big presence at the COP. So that's the first thing to be underlined. Of course, this is participation by Rotary International. We are not participating in this COP as ESRAG, but as a delegation of Rotary International. So that means we will talk about Rotary's activities, not only in our area of focus, but also we will tell about other areas of focus. We will tell people around that's coming to learn about Rotary International, our strength, our presence in the field, and our projects that we are doing. So that's the first thing that we have in our portfolio to be told to the people. And second, as ESRAG member in the delegation, we will tell about our projects, what we have been doing, what we have succeeded. So that's the second thing that we want to do. And third, if you are asking me personally, I would look forward for future partnerships and establishing networks with country delegations in the blue zone or with the NGOs and other organizations in the green zone. So we will spend a lot of time meeting different people to grow our network for future cooperation in our work.
So, Yasser, as the ending, you are among the delegates heading to COP28. Could you outline your objective for this event and share your expectations regarding the outcomes and contributions of ESRAG participation? It will be very interesting to hear your point about COP28.
Well, thank you asking for this question. It is on our mind, and we are working a lot for this COP28. Of course, we are going there as a Rotary delegation. So that means we are first talking about Rotary's work. So Rotary's work involves presence in all countries, in so many places with so many clubs. So a local presence is very important for cooperating with other organizations. And also we have the 7 areas of focus, not just on the environment. We will be speaking about all these at COP. So that's the primary objective of this delegation to the COP. But as member of ESRAG, as chair of ESRAG, we would also like to tell about our work, what we are doing, the kinds of projects that we are helping clubs achieve, and how they are going. So that is the second part. We would like to be sharing our experience with all the people who are coming to the meeting. So that's the second one. And third, if you ask me my personal desire, I want to meet more people and establish a network for future cooperation as ESRAG and also for other areas of focus, but primarily, of course, for environment, those who we can cooperate in the future, who we can benefit or who we can contribute, be it government delegates there or in the blue zone or several NGOs that will be present both in the blue zone and in the green zone. So the other objective is meeting with more people and learning more about their work and developing our network. That will be the third.
And I believe it's your first COP.
Yes, this is my first COP. Our COP discussion started, brought us to climate roadmap, and this is my first COP.
And what are preparations to go in for such event?
There are lots of work. There is a planning committee for COP28 at Dubai, and that committee has been meeting almost weekly since the beginning of the year. And there are lots of preparations on the site for the pavilion. At the pavilion, we will have sessions. There will be close to 30 sessions that will be taking place, from environmental issues to urbanization to financing of the change to health. So there are several areas, but we will also have sessions telling about us, about Rotary, what Rotary does for the various SDG goals. So those works are going on. Lots of people are involved. Lots of speakers are involved. We are working on this. There will be Rotarians coming from around the world to support the Rotary work and to gain experience. So all these people will be, and the Rotarians and the delegates will be trained. That training will be starting soon, and that way we will be ready for the conference. And believe me, it's a lot of work. A lot of people are spending a lot of time in developing these.
All right. What do you think, Felix? Are you excited about COP28?
Definitely, I'm excited about it. Yasar has really broken down the preparation of it. The joy that I'm looking at is how much Rotary International will grow as a result of such kind of leadership that even Yasar is providing. The kind of leadership he's giving, the kind of vision he's giving, the kind of concern he has for the past, and the hopefulness he has towards the future. It makes me want to be able to join into the Rotary Pavilion and listen to the speakers who've been selected to hear what vision they have towards a better tomorrow as far as the climate is concerned. And so it's an exciting moment. There's no question about it. It's a moment you definitely want to lean in, you want to listen in, you want to plug in, and you want to be part of the equation that Dr. Yasar is talking about. As you can tell, we have Rotaractors that he's mentioned who will be involved in the entire process. Implication is that the next generation is being prepared. And that's the kind of vision that each and every single form of governance ought to have, that there ought to be a preparation for those who will take after. And that is exactly what Yasar has mentioned, that there will be Rotaractors who will be trained to be able to take care of such an event. And you can imagine what the future holds or what the future looks like having such kind of preparations at such a time. So I'm hopeful, there's no question about it, looking into the future of the impact that Rotary International will have in each and every single sphere where climate and environment plays a role.
I think with the Rotary's presence in COP28, I hope this will be noticed by the young people, and we will be attracting young people to Rotary. I think that should be one of our
Exactly. That should be the objective. Because looking at the history of Rotary, you'll see that there's an age bracket that has been missing in the equation for quite a while. That's the kind of vision that definitely needs to be seen, that is being put in play. And that's why I said I'm so hopeful that with the kind of leadership you're offering, the kind of vision that you're speaking of, the kind of objectives that you're putting on the table, Rotary has a greater future.
Let's hope so.
Thank you so much, Felix. And thank you so much, Yasar. Thanks so much for answering all our questions and giving us so much information about ESRAG. I wish you to have a great COP28. I'm looking forward to reading your experience and how you find it, and hope it will be a successful one.
Thank you for having me. Let's see we succeed in this COP and we gain more young members.
Wonderful. Well said. Well said. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for the time you've given us. We are honored to have listened to you. It's been inspiring listening to you. It's been hopeful listening to you. And as I said, the future looks great with such kind of leaders on the chair.
Thank you.
Well, that was interesting. Now I know way more about ESRAG, don't you think so, Felix?
Yes, it's been quite an insightful session with Dr. Yasar. He's really broken it down into the pieces that people need to know, especially as far as ESRAG is concerned, and as far as Rotary International is concerned, and how the two function together. He's broken down on the vision that he has, and also what he's hopeful about, especially going into COP28, what can be achieved. Listening to the goals he has, there's a big vision that is at play. And this, as I said, makes us very hopeful, makes us want to join in, makes us want to lean in, listen in, be part of the equation. And it's a joy, and I'm proud also to be called an ESRAG member with such kind of leadership on the chair.
Yeah, that's a great put in there. Well, before we close off, have you read anything interesting? Have you seen anything interesting? Have you seen an interesting animal, weird animal?
Well, it's been raining. El Nino. El Nino is supposed to be hitting Kenya, Africa. This El Nino, what happens is it rains extremely heavy. It floods a lot of the regions. The good story is it's been diminished to a certain extent, as in what the extremeness of it that was being expected never resulted. So what we've been having in Kenya are just nothing but showers of blessings, I call them, good rains for the farmers, opposed to what was being expected, flooded areas, flooding all over because of heavy rains. Last time we had El Nino, there was too much flooding. And so it's a joy to see that what was expected as to be disastrous, right now it's advantageous for the farmers.
Yeah, I think we need to figure out in the future how we can collect all the rain as well for the future use. Don't you think so?
It's a lot of water that's being wasted. And I think what Yasar mentioned about agriculture being one of those, especially regenerative agriculture, being a focus and being developed. Because once the soil has been developed, which is part of regenerative agriculture, then what happens is the earth absorbs much of the water as opposed to the water running away. As I said, the vision that Yasar has is pretty much playing into what the systems and the governments need and require. As you mentioned, that would be one of the best ways to be able to contain the water into the land, as opposed to the water being washed away or running away with the soil.
The news I read is that solar panels have been installed in a remote Arctic community to power green energy transition. So imagine in a place in the north of Norway, they installed solar panels. So they barely have any sun in the winter, but still they install solar panels that can receive energy from the sun and actually around it. So imagine you have a place in the north where you have in the winter almost no sun whatsoever. That's the place they install solar panels. I thought that's a bit funny to read about that.
Definitely, that is quite interesting. Wow. So how does it function? Because most of those places are dark for much period of the time.
Well, you have, of course, solar panels that just receive the energy from the sun. So I don't think it's the sun that they receive. They receive something else, but they have the sun throughout the summer.
Okay.
So from let's say April till September, they receive a lot of sun because then the sun never sets.
Wow, that's so much sunlight in one period. And it shows the role that science plays, the role that innovations and technology play towards sustenance of human life. And so it's impressive to see the need for science to be embraced by many governments. So that kind of showcases one good example. It's a joy to be able to hear that is even possible. We do have different regions that have different difficulties. And when we see science being able to overcome that, it's pretty much explains why most governments should be able to invest into science and invest into technology.
Thank you so much for joining today.
It's been an honor being part of this conversation, listening to Yasar, Dr. Yasar. It is hopeful what is at stake and what is at play. The vision he has is big, and him speaking especially about the youth being part of the narrative, the youth being trained to take over the leadership. the youth being part, that is the Rotaract, part of the COP28. It shows the kind of vision that he has, and also it shows the future, how it's going to be looking at. So it's been an honor listening to him breaking down about ESRAG and also his role in supporting Rotary International. And that is, it's quite impressive that Rotary International has so much expertise at play. And so it's been one of those sessions that have been insightful, inspiring, informative, and educative.
Yeah, I totally agree. And of course, as we come to an end of this enlightening episode, I'd like to thank to our sponsor of our podcast, Laurie Zuckerman and ESRAG. For further information and explore the fantastic work of ESRAG, please visit their website at esrag.org. Stay informed, stay inspired, and together, let's work towards a greener and more sustainable world. Every little bit helps. Thank you for being part of ESRAG Climate Conversations, and see you and speak to you next time.
It's been quite an insightful moment, educative, informative, and it's been quite a joy listening to Dr. Yasar. What he spoke about pretty much shows the vision that he has. It shows the future that Rotary International has, and him engaging the youth, it shows the posterity of it. It's been quite informative, as I said, educative and inspiring. And it's been an honor listening to him, breaking down all the pieces from what ESRAG stands for and how it's supporting the Rotary International. It's been one of those nights that definitely I'm proud to be a Rotarian, and I'm also proud to be an ESRAG member.